What it do, ladies and gentlemen? It is the Vulgar One, the Vulgar Son, the Vulgar Desperado representing the. And today I got a review for you for Black Adamn, the newest outing from DC. And I'm going to also go over this audience versus critics debacle, Rotten Tomatoes, and just kind of give my overall, hopefully mostly spoiler-free opinion on the movie. But before we do that, you know what it is. Hit the like, hit the subscribe. Would really appreciate it. Getting close to 100. Thank you. Alright, so you peep the screen here and you'll see that it's sitting at 42% from critics and 89% for the audience. Critic consensus here is Black Adamn may end up pointing the way to an exciting future for DC films, but as a standalone experience, it's a wildly uneven letdown. And so there's a little bit of truth in all of this, right? Like, if you're going based off the critics, obviously they're a bunch of haters, and you know, sometimes audience do like to over embellish, but I would agree and lean more with the audience score here. It is an enjoyable movie. It is pretty fun. The action is really good. I think that's the selling point of this film is, yes, Black Adamn is a brutal, ruthless killing machine, right? And hell, one of the better selling points of this film is that it's not woke at all. Like, you're not really getting any hints or touch of that shit. And if it is, it's so minute that even my eagle eye did not see it at all. So it's definitely an enjoyable movie. However, I would agree that there is a bit of an unevenness to the tone. You spend a lot of time with Black Adamn and the Justice Society, and you don't really build up a villain too well. You know, little spoiler here, the villain doesn't really show up until like 20 minutes in the end of the movie in a way. So I can understand that, but the call it a letdown is a bit of a stretch. I think what they're maybe alluding to, I don't really know. I mean, if we go to some of these other reviews here. So one critic here said, Black Adamn is what happens when artists say they want to go dark but don't really have the stomach for it. So I can kind of understand that sentiment. Like, it's not as dark and edgy as one may think. I think the violence does kind of show that, but I mean, fuck, if anyone's played Mortal Kombat, you know, gore and a little bit of blood and brutal killing isn't really all that dark. You know what I mean? Sometimes dark has to come a little bit more from motivation and some of the plot details. And for example, with his origin story, it's been switched up. Here's a bit of a spoiler if you don't want to hear it. But Black Adamn isn't the original chosen champion. It's his son who is, and then through circumstances, his son gives him the powers. And, you know, he's the father who loses his family, so then he goes rogue, right? It's easier for an audience to digest that as a reasoning for being villainous than it is like in the comic book, whereas Black Adamn was the chosen champion, but then he went rogue because he had all these powers, you know, and he decided to take justice into his hands a little bit more. You know, that's a true anti-hero. It's a little bit more gray and nuanced here, and that works for film telling, you know, but this is why people say, hey, the book did it better. You go back and read it because you can get some of these grittier details and some of these more actual gray area kind of storytelling where you're like, fuck, dude, he's bad, and you can actually say this person's bad, but still like it. You know, in a film, you kind of have to make somebody a little bit more justifiable, or at least that's what storytellers, when it comes to filmmaking, they believe. So I do kind of understand what he means here by saying not having the stomach for it, going too dark. Other top critics here being haters, and even the ones that gave it some fresh ratings or even throwing some shade, like this one, a fascinating mess, or the film ultimately overloads it with so much amazing nonsense that we sort of give up and give in. And I mean, like, yeah, like I say, like, it's not a mind-blowing film, you know, don't get it twisted. This isn't like the next Christopher Nolan, but, you know, there is something here that I think more importantly makes you more excited, like that other consensus. Like, you're excited for the future, you're excited for what DC has next. You do get to see a lot of potential here. And because it's kind of doing its own thing, kind of going back to that whole uneven bit, you do kind of understand that, this is a very introductory movie. Like, the movie is meant to show you who Black Adam is, in the sense of, his place amongst the DC world. The Rock is not being coy or just joking around or braggadocious or whatever when he's saying, yo, Black Adamn is that dude. Black Adamn literally is the strongest. He could fuck up everybody, right? I'm a huge Black Adamn fan, and I was very excited that The Rock actually got to produce this film, because this has been like a fan casting since for 10-15 years at this point, and it's perfect. The Rock himself is an opposing figure, and he's the people's champ, and him playing that character, it's a really perfect fit. But Black Adamn is that dude. He is that nigga. He is that powerful. He can beat Superman. His powers are immaculate, and more than anything, I think this movie does show that. He has amazing fight scenes, a lot of fight scenes too, with the JSL, and some other dudes. You do get to see how powerful of a character he really is. So while the movie is not like the grandest thing, I'd probably give it like a 7 at best, 6.5, at worst. Because while nothing like overly amazing or overly original happens in here, I mean, even the brutal killings that Black Adamn does, you could probably see in like Injustice or something, right? But it's not bad. Like, I think that is something that might go understated when people talk about this, is like, there's nothing bad about this movie. Even the fact that there is technically 2 race swaps in this film, it doesn't feel out of place, right? I know a lot of people are going to have a lot to say about that, and context is key. We're not talking about The Little Mermaid here. Nobody really gives a fuck about Hawkman and Cyclone like that to really be up in arms over it, but Aldous Hodge and the girl, whoever her name is, Quintessa Swindell, they play their characters really well. You're not drawn to the fact that they're black people playing formerly white characters, and that's the key to a bunch of that race swapping bit. You're not dealing with the whole ego of it all, if you will. And on that note, for the rest of the cast and crew, I think everyone pretty much did a fantastic job. While some people are a little less memorable, again, nobody was terrible. Nobody felt out of place in their roles. Pierce Brosnan was really good as Dr. Fate, even if I would say Dr. Fate felt a little nerfed for the film. But, that's just my opinion of it. But I think he was great as Dr. Fate. Some of the other characters, the Kadak residents, if you will, the little terrorist crew squad, they were cool, not super memorable because I'm spacing on all their names, but nobody was bad, right? The mom was fine. The son, kind of a stereotype for, the kid that's thrown into this kind of adventure, but, it wasn't bad, Again, I think, even if you would, rate it at lower, you're not going to leave this film saying this was terrible or this was the worst. Literally the worst superhero movie is Thor Love and Thunder. I don't know if it gets any worse than that, to be perfectly honest. I think what we have here is, a bright future for DC if, DC decides to just embrace the fun, right? I think the fact is, Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, he knows, just like a lot of the fan knows, that, hey, we have a really cool opportunity, technology's here, money might be here, to have some sick, awesome, amazing, fan service heavy fight between, like, Black Adamn and Superman, and probably Shazam in there too. You can do a lot of really cool things. So I think, this film as a stepping stone in the right direction, it did its job. I think that is the main thing. This film did what it was supposed to do. Let you know that there's more powerful characters, let you know that there's some exciting things to happen, but it's not going to blow your mind as in, like, hey, this is a really good standalone feature that you could just watch on your own. Like, no, like, this movie leaves you wanting more, and I think that was the goal of it. So I think this movie was a success in that. Again, you're not going to be mind blown. It's not like, when you saw Batman Begins for the first time where you're like, oh shit, like, oh, we got something here, right? Like, this is good. Critics are a bunch of haters. I don't know what they're really looking for, but I think most people enjoy it. I think considering how many shitty movies are out there nowadays, especially in the comic book world, like if you watch that fucking She-Hulk, go watch this. And if you watch Thor and Love and Thunder, like go watch this to cleanse your palate. It will, make you feel a little bit better, and it will get you excited again for superhero movies. That is the main purpose here. But y'all know what it is. It's the Vulgar One, the Vulgar Son, Vulgar Desperado. I'm going to sign off on this one. But let me know what you thought about this movie in the comments. Did you enjoy it? Was it just okay? Or do you agree with the critics? Do you think it was just a muddling mess of bullshit, right? I'm interested. Let's start the conversation. Hit the like and subscribe on your way out. And we'll catch you on the next one. Peace.